Hello everyone, thank you for joining me. Welcome to my channel. In this episode, I'm going to take an image that I took in the Canadian Rockies and I'm going to edit and spend 5 minutes in Lightroom, and then I'm going to import it into Photoshop and then spend another 5 minutes there. Oh, she's a beauty. So I've already got the image imported into Lightroom. This is a photo that I took in the Canadian Rockies. This is my wife. She's in the canoe, and beautiful picture, but I think it needs a little bit more tweaking to really just bring it up. A couple more notches, and there's a few things right off the bat that I want to make some adjustments to. So we're going to set the clock to 5 minutes. And this is definitely a quick blast through my process, and if you have any questions, maybe you want to see a video that is way more detailed and slowed down, please let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your process and maybe your response to this. So without any further ado, I'm going to hit start on the stopwatch here, and boom, we're going to get started. So first thing I see here is my white balance. I want to warm it up actually more than that. Looking pretty good. Now with Lightroom, any adjustments that you make over here, it's going to apply it to the whole image. So I'm not going to do anything too drastic. Up the shadows, up the contrast, maybe a bit of texture, vibrance up. The greens, I'm going to move down a tiny bit. Aqua, which is in the water here, I'm going to up that, as well as the blues in the sky. That's looking good. Sharpening, let's take a look. We'll keep it at say 50 or 50 so. And then the masking, as I hold down the option, everything that's white will have that sharpening applied to it. Anything that's black, so as I slide up the masking, it's gonna be just focusing on what's white. So that looks pretty good. I'm gonna zoom into 400, and there's some nice detail here, and I could add a little bit more sharpening in one of my other programs called Topaz Labs. So that looks pretty good. All right, now we're on to a little bit more detailed stuff like the brush. And I'm gonna bring up the contrast as well as maybe some clarity, bring down the shadows, and I'm going to brush over here, bringing out a bit more of the shadow here. I don't like how bright it is over here. I want to bring the viewer, whoever's viewing this, into the image more. So I'm going to darken some of these shadows. Kind of brings the eyes into where Haley is in the boat here and into the scene. I also really like this reflection, this shadow reflection of this island. This is Spirit Island. I didn't know, quite a famous spot in the Canadian Rockies. It is absolutely stunning there. I'm gonna up the clarity a tiny bit. Shadows, drop them down. That's looking better. Now we only have 5 minutes, so kind of rushing along here. Up my time too quickly. Okay, that's looking a little bit better. Maybe darken the shadows here a tiny bit. Nice reflection. All right, new layer. Instead, I'm going to select the sky for this one. In the new Lightroom, it's pretty cool how you can now just tell the program, hey, I just want to work on the sky, and bada boom, there's the sky right there showing the overlay. To add more saturation to the sky, maybe bring the highlights down a tiny bit, up the contrast. Yeah, that's looking a lot better. Now the mountains here, I'm gonna add another brush, and I want to warm them up a tiny bit. Bring down the highlights, maybe some of the whites. Let's just take a look at the Rockies here. Don't want them too white. Everything was pretty flat before, the white balance is quite a bit off from what I would like to have seen it and when I remember it. Maybe we'll up the clarity a tiny bit, and we'll bring the blacks down a little bit, giving it a little bit more contrast. Yeah, it's looking nice. Let's try these shadows again with this same mask, darkening them a little bit more. We're up past 4 minutes now. Yep, that's looking a lot better. Maybe we'll try. Now in the far back here, I'm gonna remove some of the application that I did. The haze is kind of nice. It shows a bit of depth into this image, having haze. And where the foreground's nice and crisp, we're gonna zoom in on Haley here. And I'm just gonna add a little bit of that contrast. With contrast, it applies, you know, a bit of a sharpening to it, creating contrast. Brings a little bit more sharpening. So, boom, that is 5 minutes. Let's stop the clock here. Let's zoom out. So, that is quite the change. We're going to go all the way down to the import. This is what we imported, and all the changes that we made, a lot of brush changes. Boom, this is the outcome. So there it is. That is Lightroom, 5 minutes in Lightroom. Just a quick touch up. Now we're gonna import this into Photoshop and see if we can elevate it a little bit more. Now, while I do that, I'm gonna right click and edit it into Photoshop. So while it's being imported, I just wanna let you know that I am using a Wacom tablet. So this is the tablet right here, and I have this fancy pen that I'm using, and it's got some of these buttons here that I can program. I can click one of the buttons to get, say, a cloning tool or a brush tool, that sort of thing. So it's quite fast and efficient. There's also this little wheel right here, so I can widen my brush or radio filter, or I can zoom in and zoom out with that wheel. So there's some really cool, accessories that you can have even in post-processing, that if you're sitting in this chair and you're doing this all the time, these things are great to have instead of using a mouse. I can actually, like a brush, adding paint to a canvas. This is a very handy tool. Alright, we're going to reset the clock here. If you liked the video so far, give me a thumbs up. If you have any questions about Lightroom, be sure to leave a comment down below. I wanted to try it so that it's fast paced, going through everything, and then maybe you want to see another video that is a slow breakdown. Let me know. If not, I would love to do this again, the fast pace, going through all the steps. Especially if you have a bit of an understanding on Photoshop and Lightroom, this might be handy for you. So we got our stopwatch all zeroed in. Now one of the things before I hit go here that I won't be using is there is this spot removal, spot healing brush, and I have it highlighted here on the left. And when I'm doing commercial or architectural photography where I really want to remove distractions within an image, Photoshop is amazing, whereas Lightroom has healing and a few other things, and if that's all you have, that's great. But Photoshop is just amazing. Like if I brush out Haley in this canoe because I wanted it removed, it does a great job of taking the pixels that are in and around and being able to fill in that space with like a content aware application, and I think it's amazing. So just wanted to show you that for a minute. Very powerful, and I think if I'm going to do this video again, maybe doing something in the architectural or commercial stage might be kind of interesting to do. Alright, we're going to hit start. Boom, clock is ticking. So I'm going to duplicate this background. It's always good to work from a duplicate, so you can always go back. I'm going to go to a solid color here for my adjustments layer, make it kind of a warm sunsetty. Hit OK, go from normal down to color dodge with that lighting, that color. Hit invert, so it removes the application. And so if I have my brush selected, when I go ahead and add white to this layer mask, it's going to apply my adjustment layer that I just made, which is that color dodge. So as you can see, it's now applying wherever I'm painting this really cool, bright, sunsetty look. And it's already bringing a lot of contrast and highlights to the image. Well, it's a little extreme there in the water, so I'm going to bring the opacity of my brush down. And I want to see that reflection. Zoom in a tiny bit. White is to see, black is to remove. So I'm adding this color dodge to my reflection. I'm also removing it really fast with my pen here. I think the hot key on your keyboard is X. Switch back and forth between black and white. And then again, I'm adding this color dodge to the coast along the lake here. And it's just bringing some really nice warm highlights that the sun is gonna give, or is giving. Zooming in, oh, it's a big file, and it's like, please don't make me run too fast. I'm gonna highlight Haley and her boat. And while I'm here, I'm gonna add another solid color. This time it's gonna be more like red. And I'm gonna go all the way down to color. Look at that. You probably know what I'm gonna do right now. Invert. Opacity is way down, and I'm going to brush in a bit more red into this canoe. I know it's quite red. It's been a little bit sun bleached over the years, but I want to see that red kind of pop and give it a bit of reflection here. So I'm just applying a little bit of color on this layer, and if it's too much, we can always dial it back a little bit. But look at that. You want to have a nice red boat. In this case, it's not a boat, it's a canoe. And I should watch what I'm saying here. And I'm going to remove a little bit of that red here so it's not so extreme. Time's a ticking. Time's a ticking. Oh, that looks much better. Back to the highlight here. And we're going to give a little bit of highlight to the mountains. We're going to up the opacity so we're working a little bit faster here. That looks nice. We'll do another solid color. We'll go to the sunset again, but in this case we're going to go down to screen. And we lower this down to a black. It's not as extreme. Invert that. And then I'm going to be adding this. This adds a little bit of atmosphere. The sun and all of the dust or the minerals in the sky. Color dodge, just to add a little bit of color dodge to that. This is really starting to come together. It's looking nice. We'll add a little bit of color dodge over there. A little bit of atmosphere up here. Looking really nice. Don't want to go over the top. And then quickly, as my time is starting to run out, I'm going to add more contrast. Lower this a little bit. And I'm just going to apply it in areas where I think I can use a tiny bit more contrast. Up the opacity so I can work a little bit faster. A little bit of contrast up through here, up into the mountains. Make them pop a little bit more. Up the opacity so I'm not wasting too much time. Oh, pens down everyone. That is time, stop, reset. Okay, so the changes that we made in Photoshop are very much just your slight pops of highlights that you would get from the sun as it's setting. So if we hit option here, there is the highlights, adding a bit more contrast in the overall image, making this image pop. Let me know if you think it's kind of a bad edit, but I think it looks amazing from the original. So let's go all the way back to the raw image. So here it is, flat, it's cold, it's bluer. Even if we were to warm it up, which we did right here, it's still quite flat. And there's a lot, I think, that we did to this. Oh, I'm saying we because you guys are helping me here. And then Photoshop here, that is the end result. Let me know what you think. If you love this video, give me the thumbs up. If you're not subscribed already, please subscribe. This is the first video that I've done in the studio, in my office space here. Other videos I'm out in the field, so I'm gonna put those videos up here, and be sure to check them out. There's ones on telephoto photography, there's one on waterfalls, so be sure to check those out. Thank you so much. Again, my name is Matt Shannon. If you're interested in some of the gear that I use, I'll put that down in the description. But until then, thank you again. I appreciate it, and we'll see you on the next video. Bye-bye.